What would you say if a native Spanish speaker suddenly asks you, ¿qué estás haciendo? Or, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español?
Don't panic, friends, if you don't know the answers yet, because today we're going to build on what you already know about ing words in Spanish, plus teach you how to confidently answer common questions you might be asked by native speakers around what you're currently doing or what someone else is currently doing in español. Welcome to Spanglish, friends, the podcast for true beginner Spanish learners.
Hola amigos, I'm Val, your experienced Spanish teacher and co-host from Venezuela.
And I'm Em, your Australian co-host who's been learning Spanish for 10 years.
We'll help you get confident listening and speaking beginner Spanish with content you can actually use in real-life conversations.
Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on socials at Spanglish_friends. Let's get started.
Comencemos. Hola amigos, welcome back. Welcome to episode 36, episodio 36 of the Spanglish Friends.
Bienvenidos de nuevo. Today's episode is super practical because we're diving into common questions that you're likely going to be asked as a beginner speaker and how you can respond confidently.
Today, we are going to tell you what to listen out in Spanish, common questions about what you or others are doing, and even your Spanish learning journey. Once you see these patterns, you'll sound like a native asking and answering everyday questions.
Woohoo! And as always, we'll guide today's episode with tres preguntas clave, 3 key questions of the day.
Pregunta número uno. How can you ask or answer questions about current actions or activities? For example, ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? Pregunta número dos. How can you talk about your Spanish learning journey? For example, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español? For how long have you been learning Spanish? And our last question, pregunta número tres. How can you ask about what other people or groups are doing? For example, ¿qué está haciendo tu hermano? What is your brother doing? Or, ¿qué están haciendo tus amigos? What are your friends doing?
Nice, Profe Val. And before we dive into each of these questions, let's warm up your Spanish listening skills, friends, with a mini conversation, una conversación pequeña. Listen carefully to try and notice new questions that you might hear in real life asking you what you're currently doing and listen to how we answer them.
Vamos, amiga. Ready? ¿Estás lista?
Sí, como siempre, Profe Val. Comencemos.
Emi, buenos días. ¿Qué estás haciendo?
Estoy estudiando español, Val.
Genial. ¿Y cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español?
Llevo aprendiendo por 1 año. Es un idioma muy interesante.
Ay, me alegro mucho por ti, Emi. Estoy muy orgullosa.
Did you catch any new questions, amigos, asking what you're currently doing in Spanish? Let's do it by breaking down everything you need to know with pregunta número uno, which is all about asking and answering about current activities and actions in Spanish. A common question you could be asked is, ¿qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué estás haciendo? Which means, what are you doing right now, in this moment? ¿Qué estás haciendo?
And if you want to get more specific, you can ask directly with the action word. For example, ¿qué estás comiendo? What are you eating? ¿Qué estás cocinando? What are you cooking? Or ¿qué estás jugando? What are you playing? For games or sports?
And the way you can answer these questions around what you're currently doing is with the structure we taught you in the previous episode, which is using the verb estar with the first person conjugation estoy, meaning I am, plus the verb in its gerundio form, which means its ing form in Spanish. For example, estoy cocinando arroz. This means I am cooking rice. Right in this moment, I am cooking rice. Or I could say, estoy leyendo un libro. I am reading a book. Or estoy viendo una película. I am watching a movie.
Moving on to pregunta número dos. Talking about your Spanish journey. A beginner-friendly way to answer is llevar plus gerundio plus time. And let me give you an example. Llevo aprendiendo español por 6 meses. This means I've been learning Spanish for 6 months.
That's right. Aprendiendo means learning, the ing word in Spanish. Now, you can use this structure and replace it with any quantity of time. So you could say, llevo aprendiendo español por un mes, por 2 meses, por 3 años, por 10 años. This is a super handy response to have in your back pocket because it is such a common question that you'll get as a beginner. How long have you been studying Spanish for, learning Spanish for? Especially handy if you're in a class with fellow Spanish learners or you get asked, maybe you're traveling in a Spanish-speaking country. Once you nail this response, you'll talk about your Spanish journey easily without pausing awkwardly.
Now moving to our pregunta número tres, asking about other people or groups.
Yes, that's right, Profe Val. And to do this, you can ask a couple of questions. The first of which is, ¿qué está haciendo? Plus the person you're asking about. For example, ¿qué está haciendo tu hermano? What is your brother doing? ¿Qué está haciendo tu amiga? What is your friend doing? Or amigo? Or ¿qué está haciendo tu mamá? You're asking, what is this person doing? What is he or she doing? Or if you wanted to ask what a group of people are doing, you could say, ¿qué están, with an N, qué están haciendo tus amigos? What are your friends doing? ¿Qué están haciendo tus compañeros, your work colleagues? What are they doing? ¿Qué están haciendo tus vecinos, your neighbors? What are they doing? So we need to use ¿qué está when we're talking about one person, ¿qué está haciendo? If we're asking about what a group of people are doing, we need to use ¿qué están haciendo?
These questions, once you get them, you can answer naturally by saying, mi hermano está estudiando. This is an example which means my brother is studying. Estudiar is the verb to study. Another, mi amiga está cocinando. My friend is cooking. Cocinar is the verb to cook. Or in the plural form, mis amigos están jugando fútbol. My friends are playing football. Jugar is the verb to play.
And the best tip we can give here, Spanglish friends, is with your answers, you need to change whether you're talking about a singular person or a group of people with mi or mis. So you would have heard Val say mi hermano, my brother está estudiando, versus mis amigos están jugando. They are playing football. So if you're talking about one person, you'd say mi. If you're talking about a group of people, you'd say mis. Now, let's go back to our mini conversation from before because we have all the ingredients we need to unpack it successfully line by line so you can really see these questions and answers in action.
Vamos, amiga. In this conversation, first I ask, ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? Hacer is the verb to do in the gerund form. ¿Qué estás haciendo?
That's right. That was the first question we taught you today to listen out for. What are you currently doing in this moment? ¿Qué estás haciendo? Then I replied, estoy estudiando español, Val. I told her what I'm currently doing right now with that reply structure we taught you of estoy plus a verb in its gerundio, its ing form. I am studying Spanish, Val.
Then I asked her, ¿y cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español? For how long have you been learning Spanish?
That's right. If you hear that question, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español? It's okay. How much time have you been learning Spanish for? I answered with the structure we taught you today. Llevo aprendiendo. I have been learning español plus a period of time. In this example, I said por un año. I've been learning it for a year. You could add por un mes, por 2 meses, etc. Then I added es un idioma interesante. I said, it's a very interesting language.
Finally, I was so happy for Em, and I said a phrase that is very common. Me alegro mucho por ti. I'm very glad for you, Emmy. Then I also added, estoy muy orgullosa. This is a phrase which means I'm very proud. Estoy muy orgullosa. How great, amigos, is that with that short chat? We used questions and we answer about current activities and even the Spanish learning journey. All of them are very essential for beginners. So, muy bien, amigos. Felicitaciones. You did it.
Sí, buen trabajo. Great work. So let's now finish with a recap of the tres cosas clave, the three key things we learned today so they stick in your brain. Go grab a pen, a piece of paper, write it down so you learn something today. First, friends, you learnt how to ask and answer questions about current activities, what you're doing right now in Spanish.
Questions like, ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? And you can reply naturally. Estoy aprendiendo español. I'm learning Spanish.
Next, you learned how to talk about your Spanish learning journey.
Using llevar plus gerundio plus time. For example, llevo aprendiendo español por 6 meses. I've been learning Spanish for 6 months.
Last but not least, you learned how to ask about what other people or groups of people are doing right now in Spanish.
Like, ¿qué está haciendo tu hermano? In the singular form, one person. What is your brother doing? And answer naturally. Mi hermano está cocinando. My brother is cooking. Or, ¿qué están haciendo tus papás? For a plural form. What are your parents doing? And you could answer, mis papás están jugando golf. My parents are playing golf. You did it, amigos. Nice, amazing, maravilloso. Now, let's make sure it all sticks in your mind with the reto de la semana, with the challenge of the week.
Yes, yes, yes. And this week, friends, we want you to write your answer in the comments to the question, ¿Cuánto tiempo llevas aprendiendo español? Do you remember what this means? How long have you been learning aprendiendo, that ing word, español? How long have you been learning Spanish? Answer with llevo plus aprendiendo, learning, plus the amount of time. Por un mes, por 2 meses, por 6 meses, por un año, por 3 años. We can't wait to see how long you have been on your Spanish learning journey.
We're looking forward to reading all your comments, amigos, and hopefully give you one of our special shout-out in an upcoming episode.
Sí, sí, sí. And spoiler alert, amigos, because next episode, we are going to be doing something so important in Spanish. We are going to be unlocking the power, el poder, of common irregular verbs in the present tense. Why is this so important? Because it enables you to say things like, I want in Spanish, or I have, and many more things that come from irregular verbs. So stay tuned because this is going to be boosting your Spanish fluency to the next level.
Ooh la la, absolutely. Okay, amigos, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, practice makes progress, not perfection.
That's right, Profe Val. Until next time, amigos. Hasta luego. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks for listening to Spanglish, friends. We are both so proud of the time you're investing to level up your Spanish skills.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, follow us, leave a rating, or tell a friend about the show. It helps our awesome community grow.
Join fellow beginner Spanish learners by following us on Instagram and TikTok at Spanglish_friends.
Congratulations on taking another step in your Spanish learning journey.
Hasta la próxima, amigos.